Shalom, this is Bishop Nathaniel of Israel United in Christ, here to teach the truth. Who's the black man that went into slavery? Who's the black man scattered throughout the sub-Saharan slave trade, transatlantic slave trade, the diaspora, as the world calls it? We are the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Who is Christ? The black Messiah, according to Revelation chapter 1, verse 14 and 15. All these things we're going to prove to you. Your churches don't want to talk about it, but guess what? We're going to talk about it. So join us every Monday at 8 p.m. Germany time. Shalom.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Isaac Jr. on the show. This is TopAfric. This is Hamburg, Germany, and we have in the building with us on the studios of New York, Deacon Asaph and Deacon Ithan. How are you guys doing?
Great.
We're great. We're doing great.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Deacon Asaph, it's been a minute that we've seen you. And by the way, the most interesting thing is, I won't forget, I have to bring it up again, man. You know, last week's show, I got a new name, you know what I'm saying? I have to add that to my AKA right now, you know what I'm saying? Deacon, I thought you know what it is, right? Oh, you heard about it?
I think I heard about it.
Oh, God, that was hilarious. But, ladies and gentlemen, today's show is about Black History Month. So this is what we're going to talk about. It's the month of February, and it is Black History Month, of course. So we are going to, IUIC is going to discuss Black History Month to enlighten us on that subject. So while we're at it, and while we're about to build some following, I want you guys to post in your questions whenever you do have any questions, and of course, Deacon Ithan and Deacon Asaph are here to answer those questions. Moving on to Black History Month, Deacon Ithan, what is Black History Month in the first place?
Black History Month is a month in which we were given by the oppressor to enjoy our history in the shortest month of the year. That's what Black History Month is, even though Black History Month should be Black History Centuries, because our history transcends beyond 28 days. But that's the crumbs we're given in this society. We get a month to embrace our culture, while the rest of the 11 months, we get to embrace everybody else's.
But just to clarify that part, was Black History Month given to us, or did we just choose to make Black History Month on our own? Was it like a black movement? Like, we're going to celebrate Black History Month because we need to celebrate ourselves, so we're just going to use this month and do it? Or did the white man say, hey, guys, here, take a month, and you guys can celebrate yourselves in this one? How was it?
Well, it's considered Black History Month publicly. So for it to be considered Black History Month publicly or worldwide, the white man had to be the one to say, okay, you can have that. I mean, even if we did, as a whole, we all did come forward and say, oh, it's Black History Month. If he doesn't, co-sign on it, it would have been Black History Month or labeled that.
It actually used to be called Black History Week. Boy, it got expanded to a month. I heard that.
Wow.
They quote unquote giving us a week.
Right. Because okay, go ahead, Asaph. Go ahead.
No, I wanted to see if there was some literature to confirm that, but I did hear that. I know I supposed to be more up to speed on things like that. But the reason why, in particular, that I'm not really ecstatic about us being, like Deacon Ithan was expounding on, that I'm not really ecstatic about us being given a month, because all great history is Black history, more than a week or a month or a year. The greatest figures on this earth were Black people. So I'm not giving me a month, ain't saying anything, you know. So
right.
I guess they said, well, better be glad we gave you a month. I said, yeah, but God gave us the Bible.
Yeah. Well, going into that, I think it all started with the Negro History Week back in 1926. That's when it actually originated. But then it also says the Black History Month in the United States started in 1976. That's when the Black History Month in general started. If I am to ask, why are there any criticisms on Black History Month?
Criticism.
Yeah. Because
is there not any criticisms on Black History Month?
Where it's interesting is that the criticisms comes from us black people as well. Like we have a Nation of Islam that are against Black History Month. I forgot the reason why, but I was looking up at something a while back on Wikipedia, and it said that Nation of Islam are against Black History Month. Well, of course, I guess we have to talk to them to figure that out. But also in an article, in an article, it also says that Morgan Freeman and Stacey Dash also have other differences. I guess Morgan Freeman is pretty much like yours, because he said, and I quote, "I don't want Black History
that video was hilarious."
Yeah, exactly. It's a Black history, it's an American history, and it probably should. And his point also is, his argument is that white people do not celebrate White History Month, so why should we celebrate Black History Month? That's what his argument is. What do you guys make of that, though?
Yeah. But
that's a little different concern what I'm thinking.
Actually, it is a little different. I thought it was the same thing, but then reading it out, I realized it's different. Yeah.
Right, it's very different. He's saying they hold both.
Right.
Like we're all one, basically. Right. Indirectly saying we're all one. None of us should have a separate month celebrating each other's culture. Just maybe.
Well, the intended purpose of having any kind of memoriam, if you will, like a month to remember heroes and things, is to instill a sense of pride in the people.
Right.
So that's the reason why people will even have a celebration. If you want to put that in the context of Esau or the white people not having a month particular, they don't need a month. They got the whole earth. You understand? Every time you turn on the television, white history is on TV. Every time you go outside, every time you talk to each other, you talk of white history. Okay, so they don't need a particular month or a year. All their ideas are already established. We're the ones that have to fight against that established to bring some pride to us.
Yeah, and Stacey Dash, she's in the sunken place. Like she's in the box in the sunken place that was thrown in another sunken place. She's gone. Stacey Dash is gone. Can't even bring her into the conversation. I don't know what's going on.
All right, we're going to move on, and I would like to ask a definition of NAACP. Is it possible to get a definition of what NAACP is? NAACP?
NAACP is the National Association Advancement of Colored Peoples. It's an organization that was founded by, from what I read, there's actually white folks that backed it and still do. You have been like W. Du Bois.
Yeah, W.B. Du Bois, what they call the Talented 10, all those things around.
Yeah, basically a group of black folks funded by white folks that were assigned to fight for civil rights or civil equalities in the past.
Okay.
When you look at the term advancement, what advance to what?
Advancement of colored
not to pour water on it, but think about it. A lot of times we talk about being leaders. We want to be leaders in the community. If you're going to be a leader, your objective is to lead people somewhere. Where are the leaders intending to lead us to become vanished into white folks? I'm talking about in terms of integration and the rest of right. So we just lose our identity, you know.
And also, they still refer to themselves as the National Association Advancement of Colored Peoples. They still maintain the colored, which is a derogatory term for us in the past. Colored peoples. Why are you an organization still referring to yourself as colored peoples in 2018? Right.
I would like to know what the IUIC's take on Black History Month is. Is it something that IUIC celebrates? Is it something they promote, they support, or is it something that it's not a thing where you like it's not a thing where you guys push that strong in terms of the month itself, celebrating the month itself for the Israelites?
We don't celebrate it because God's holidays are in the Bible. That's what we celebrate. But we understand the reason why our people would aspire to honor it, if you will. We do understand the reason and the quote unquote importance of it, so we won't denigrate it in that sense. You understand? But in terms of what we are commanded to celebrate and keep and honor are God's laws. but we do understand the need for our people who don't know the Bible yet to have something where they can feel a sense of pride in this sea of racism and bigotry and discrimination, Jim Crow, and all the rest. So we understand the reason why our people would gravitate to that. So we won't necessarily just shoot it down in terms of that, but in terms of to do what's correct is to follow the laws of God in the Bible. Black History Month is in the Bible. Black History period is in the Bible. And colored people, for that, just for that clarification, colored, when they say colored, I imagine it began as quote unquote black people, but colored supposed to be for all of the quote unquote minorities, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans. That's why they use the term colored. It was supposed to be a more umbrella type of coverage. You know.
Now, Deacon.
But all of those people are the Israelites, and they're supposed to be following God's holy days.
Right. Deacon Ithon, Deacon Yawasap, it is a Black History Month topic, and of course we have viewers that are tuning in right now who have not probably watched the show before. So why don't we go into the book of Deuteronomy, and just read out, what the Bible said about, the Israelites, and just bring it up from there, and then let's talk about it, about the Black lives or Israelites in general, who they are, who we are, and stuff like that, and just to have people that have also tuned in for the first time to also have a sense of awareness on who Israelites are, or the true Israelites are as well.
Okay, let's go to it. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 15. Now, when you examine the history of the Bible, in Deuteronomy, this is Moses' words, and you had Israel came out of Egypt, and Moses was given laws to give to his people after he delivered them out of Egypt while they were slaves. And there were certain conditions following behind those laws that were given, or that covenant or agreement that was made between his people, Israel, and the Lord through Moses, by Moses. And he gave conditions, the do's and don'ts. If you do keep the commandments, then I'll bless you. You'll receive whatever you want. You'll have the world and everyone in it and everything around it. If you do the opposite, I will curse you, and I will bring you to be the lowest of the lowest people on the face of the planet of the earth. And you'll meet these conditions that you bring upon yourselves based upon your disobedience. So we're going to read Deuteronomy 28, verse 15.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So breaking God's laws, curses will fall upon us, not individual, but as a whole, as a nation, because we've been trained to be individuals rather than a nation. So the Most High said, you as a whole will undergo these curses for disobedience. The next verse.
Verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
So cursed shall you be in the city, because wherever you find so-called Black Hispanics and Native Americans, you will find them in accursed conditions. Native Americans will be reservations. Black and Hispanics will be ghettos, barrios, shack towns, shanty towns, whatever you call them. In Brazil, you have areas in Liberia, you have areas in Nigeria, Haiti, ghettos in DC, ghettos in Detroit, ghettos in Cali, ghettos in New York, ghettos in every major city, Alabama, whatever. You find Atlanta, you'll find us in accursed conditions in the city. All right? Read next verse.
Verse 17. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store.
Cursed shall be your basket and your store, because within these stores and supermarkets in our community, a lot of the food isn't really food. A lot of it so-called food is GMOs. You have McDonald's on every corner. Here in New York, you'll find McDonald's on 3 different areas on one block. And that food isn't food. That is chemicals disguised as food. You have food that they say is beef and it's not beef. You have food they say is pork, but it's not pork, or shrimp, but it's not shrimp. The food is all defiled. And a lot of the foods, believe it or not, you have areas like Whole Foods, supermarkets, where those are like the rich, upper class supermarkets that Black folks can afford to go to So we go to the other stores, like the corner stores, the bodegas, where the food lasts for a very, very abnormally long time. Whereas you go to the Whole Foods, the rich people areas, the food lasts within a day or so because it's real food. So it says, cursed shall be your basket in your store, meaning the food that you eat will be bad for you, or not be food at all, be straight chemicals. Horrible. Whether it'll be the water products or the food, it's not good for you. The hormones stabbed into the cows, or the chemicals, is in black communities. A lot of Hispanic and black communities, the water's all messed up, but we'll get to that. Jump to verse 18.
Verse 18. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body.
Meaning your children are going to undergo the same conditions. Meaning this curses will be generational. They will pass down from father to son, mother to daughter. It will be generational, these conditions. Go ahead.
And the fruit of thy land.
Because you in our land, the Most High cursed our land. Go ahead.
The increase of thy kind and the flocks of thy sheep.
Meaning our wealth. Jump to verse 32.
Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters.
Verse 31.
31. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes.
I'm sorry. You know what? Give me verse 30.
Verse 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her.
Now, there's a movie you watch called that came out called The Birth of a Nation. And when you watch that, the brother had just gotten married, and the white man, his master had guests, and the white dude saw his wife, and he said, listen, I want her for the night. And she had just gotten married, so the man took the slave's wife and laid with her. So another man, should we read that part again?
Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her.
So when Israel went into captivity, our wives are given to other men. Okay, ahead.
Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein.
Yeah, at the White House. We built the White House. We built the Washington Monument. We built
Washington, D.C.
D.C. We built that area. We didn't live in the White House. We built the house, and we lived in the shacks outside the houses. Even in the plantations, we would build the house in the plantations and live in a shack aside from the actual house we built. We weren't allowed to live in those homes. Go ahead.
Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof.
This goes back to being cursed in that field. We planted the vineyards. We weren't allowed to pluck from those things for ourselves. We were given the scraps. Jump to read on.
Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof.
You lose your animals, our cattle. Go ahead.
Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face.
Another word for ass is a mule. We know black folks always ask the 40 acres in the mule. The Native Americans asked the 40 acres in 2 mules, and they didn't get it. Why? Read that part again. Thine ass what?
Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee.
It will not be restored to us. So when you ask for 40 acres in the mule, the Lord said, you're not getting that back. You're going to lose it, and it's going to stay lost. Go ahead.
Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies.
Or it goes back to another man your wife will be given to, your enemies. Go ahead.
And thou shalt have none to rescue them.
Next verse.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
So your sons and your daughters shall be given unto another people. I'm going to give you twofold of that. You had the instance where you had auction blocks, where you had men and women and their children put on the auction, and the highest bidder would bid for the father, one would bid for the mother, and one would bid for the children. They'd be separated, and they would never see their kids again. They were given unto another people. Read on.
And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long.
A strong example of that is a movie called 12 Years a Slave with Salma Northup, where the sister was crying day and night for her children. And Salma Northup started cursing out and listen, you guys stay strong. She said, what about you? You lost your wife and your children. So how can I mourn for mine? And she just continued to cry, and they shipped her off somewhere else. She was disturbing the master's wife. Okay, and that's based upon the slave narrative that was written by Salma Northup. When you read the actual book, it's actually worse than the movie, because that's based on a true story or a true history. Go ahead.
And there shall be no might in thine hand.
You know, should be what?
There shall be no might in thine hand.
To get the children back from another people who they will be sold to. Jump to verse 41.
Verse 41. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters.
This goes back. We read it again. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters. Go ahead.
Thou shalt beget sons and daughters.
Go ahead.
But thou shalt not enjoy them.
Why not?
For they shall go into captivity.
Be given unto another people. One of the things Moses did in Deuteronomy 28 was he would repeat the same thing over and over again. Because, when we talk to our people, they don't listen. So the Most High would oftentimes have Moses say the same thing in a different way or more elaborate. And he would explain to us that these things were going to happen. You understand? They were going to happen. Jump to verse 46.
Verse 46.
No, 45.
Verse 45. Moreover, all these curses,
43. Read that.
43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high.
At one point in time, we had nations that we ruled over. We had slaves. We had servants under our rule. And he says, the stranger that is within you, that dwells with you, or what?
Shall get up above thee very high.
Uh-huh.
And thou shalt come down very low.
You'll switch places. Go ahead.
He shall lend to thee.
That goes to banks. How many black banks are there? You can count on one hand how many black-owned banks are there. And if there are any black-owned banks, whose money is it? Who prints the money? Are our faces on the money?
True,
no. So you have black banks, and I give credit when credit is due for brothers to come together and actually try to start a bank for black folks to deal with black banks and us deal with each other. I respect that. I'm not going to knock it fully. But at the end of the day, the money within those black banks is white owned or white printed money. You understand? So read on. So it says, he shall lend to thee. Go ahead.
He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him.
Go ahead.
He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
Go ahead. 45.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee.
Wherever you run, we tried to run from the curses. Wherever Israel was, whether in Spain, whether in West Africa, whether in Northeast Africa, whether in South Africa, wherever we were, every curse written here would follow us and pursue us. Even in a land of captivity, we were going to experience these curses, no matter where we were brought to. Go ahead.
And overtake thee,
Uh-huh.
till thou be destroyed.
Go ahead.
Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God,
Uh-huh.
to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee.
Go ahead.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign.
The they is the curses will be upon our people as a whole for a sign. Go ahead.
And for a wonder.
Which translates to what people say a miracle. The signs and wonders. Because our people, as I said before last week, we are a living miracle. Because our people underwent a captivity that no other nation could ever survive. Spiritually, mentally, psychologically, we are as a nation repressed, oppressed, depressed, and suppressed as a whole. And no other nation can survive that. You have nations that go through the smallest tribulation and they hang themselves immediately. Whereas black folks, suicide rate is very low among us, and we live in the most horrible conditions. And statistically speaking, black folks commit less suicide than other races who don't live as bad as we do. We work it out. We'll go to the liquor store, get some moonshine, get a 40, sit in the porch, and just say, hey, man, I had a hard day at work. We had damn 3 jobs, and we work it out. Go to their wife, make a whole bunch of babies to ease the stress. This is what we do. Not just blacks, but Hispanics as well. We can all relate to this. Go to grandma's house, have a cookout. We find ways to deal with our condition, to how you use the word I'm looking for, to alleviate the condition, and we find outlets, ways to survive, whereas other nations couldn't survive these conditions, man. That's why it says these curses will be upon you for a sign and a wonder, because as a nation, we wonder, why do we undergo such horrible conditions in the past and in the present? Why? These curses are made for us to wonder, to ask questions. That's why our people, even till now, seek identity. They seek knowledge of self, because these curses were going to force us to ask questions. Why are we in these conditions? Why these things happen to us? Why are we being gunned down? Why are people killing us, getting acquittal after acquittal after acquittal? Why are these things happening? Right. That's these curses are made for. You say something, Cap? I'm Isaac. Yeah, call you Captain Isaac, okay?
That's a cool title too, you know. You mentioned something about the money, all right? And
yes,
I just got a question in saying that what difference does it make if our face or if there was a black face on the dollar. What difference does it make?
Well, we do have instances where you have black faces on the money. I was making a point that when you have brothers that actually try to open their own banks and we try to do our own thing to help each other out, the money that's being put in those banks is not our money. That was my point. It doesn't matter whose face is on it. I was making a point that regardless, the money that's put in the black banks that our people attempt to open to make it a kind of black, solidarity. Let's just go to our own banks. Let's open our own schools. The money that is put into those banks is not our money. Whether our face is or isn't on it, the printing press, we don't own that. Right. You understand? The currency given to those dollar bills, we're not in control of that.
Right.
We don't control whether a dollar is worth a dollar. We don't control whether a quarter is worth a quarter. That's not us. That's not our power to do that. You understand? So that was my point I was making. It doesn't matter whose face is on the money. However, my point is that regardless of us opening banks, we have no power in terms of the money that is placed in those banks. That's my point. Yeah, let's continue. Read on to verse 48.
Do you mind asking another question?
Verse 46.
Huh? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, what is the difference with Japan and us as black people as a whole? I mean, the whole continent of Africa.
Japan?
I'm telling you, because Japan, they undergo, because I was talking with a few folks earlier, and we were talking about Japan and their economy and how they keep standing strong after the huge, what's it called? Earthquakes, floods, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And they're able to stand strong on their own and still, rebuild and do all that, with no problems. But it looks like they're just one nation. We got a whole lot. What is our problem? Why are we not, able to stand on our feet too?
We're reading it. We're reading it. That's the problem. The problem is what we're reading is the curses that would destroy us. I'm going to show you why. Read verse 48. I'm going to show you. Read next verse. Next verse is going to answer. That's funny you asked that question because the next verse is going to answer your question definitively. Go ahead.
Verse 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign.
No, 48.
Oh, 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee. In hunger.
When you want food, you rely on your enemies. Go ahead.
And in thirst.
Hunger, it goes into the produce, that goes into the poultry, the farms. We don't control those things. There are no black-owned farms that you find in the supermarket. We don't own Walmart. We don't own Costco's. We don't own BJ's. We don't own Whole Foods, Kmart, whatever stores you have in your areas. We are not over those stores, nor the products that are shipped into those stores to buy from. The packaging, we don't over that. We're not over that stuff. Go ahead.
And in nakedness.
No, and in thirst.
And in thirst.
Thirst, we don't control the water. We don't own Desani, Aquafina, Fiji, Perrier. We don't run that. Even the reservoirs, we don't control that. The beaches and pools that are be open, we don't control of that. The pipelines, we not control of that. The coastlines, we don't open or close those. We're not over that. Our enemies are over that. Go ahead.
And in nakedness.
The clothes on our backs, made in Taiwan, made in China, made in Arabia. We don't control the raw textiles that are used to create our clothes or shipped over here once again. Go ahead.
And in want of all things.
Whatever you want or whatever you lack, you rely on these enemies who provide you with the food, the thirst, and the clothing. You rely on them for all things, whether it be a pension, retirement, a bank loan. He shall lend to thee, thou shalt not lend to him. That's them bank loans. You have death certificates, birth certificates, to be buried, to be born. You rely on them. Welfare, Section 8, food stamps, child support. You rely on enemies for that. A license, a driver's license, a gun license, a fishing license, a passport, education, religion. You rely on him for everything. TV, you rely on him for that because you got to pay your electric bill to keep the TV on. So you rely on him literally for everything. Paper plates, toilet paper, everything. Go ahead.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck.
And this nation who you rely upon for everything would put yokes of iron upon your neck. Now, this is a reoccurring thing, okay? But scripture is being more specific to a particular nation that would do this. Because all the nations did this, but this for one particular nation did this. I'm going to prove it. Read on.
Until he hath destroyed thee.
That's the point. Until once the chains came off, we were destroyed. You would keep the chains on you until we were destroyed. How are we destroyed? Psychologically, when the chains came off. You have a thing called the Emancipation Proclamation, where they allegedly freed the slaves. They say that took place in 1860, even though you had slavery going on until 1960 under 4 different presidents that kept it secret. So when the chains came off of our people's minds are broken, because when slavery ended, many of us did what? We returned right back to the plantation because that's all we knew. So a lot of us ended up, after slavery, after being emancipated, we went right back to master because all we knew. And remember, what they did was around that time, they established unions because remember, they were hiring black folks. They said, listen, we got to keep these niggers, excuse my language, from getting jobs. Let's form unions to keep them out. That's how unions are formed. So a lot of black folks could not find work. So they returned to the work that they could get, which is back on them plantations, back to sharecropping, which lasted until, like I said before, 1960. You understand? And even in some areas now, like Bolivia, they still doing sharecropping over there to this day in secret. So it says, until thou be destroyed. So once the chains came off, we no longer the Israelites. We were not African Americans or labeled ourselves Afro-Americans, still trying to seek identity. Latin Americans, Native Americans, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Haitians, Jamaicans. Our minds were destroyed. So at that point, that answers your question as to why we can't get together, because of all these different language, racial, bywords or names called outside of our own that keep us divided as a nation. That's what happened. Once some chains came off, our minds were destroyed. And Japan has never underwent that. Right. In fact, Japan was involved in the slave trade for about 1,000 years. China, you had the Arab trans-Saharan slave trade. They sold blacks over to China and over to Japan. Okay, and Iran and East India and the Philippines and Hawaii, they sold us all over the place over there. So again, they never underwent that. That's why I said we are a living, walking miracle as a nation of people, because no other nation has ever underwent the conditions that we have gone through in the past or in the present, which is why our people try to commemorate our history with this month, because some of us have enough knowledge to understand that there is more to us than just slavery, but slavery is elaborated on during Black History Month, because a lot of our children are being trained to forget it. A lot of, like in schools, they're turning the transatlantic slave trade into the transatlantic migration. Now, that's they're calling it in school. They're attempting to change it into the transatlantic migration, as if we woefully said, you know what, let's put these chains on, get in the ship and divide ourselves from our families and put ourselves in the bottom of a boat and take dumps on each other and vomit on each other for years and years of travel on a boat and work for nothing. That's what migration is, and you woefully move from one place to the next. It's a transatlantic slave trade. It was a forceful migration, but they're trying to change things around. You know, that's why it says in verse where is it? Where it said, your curse shall be your food of your body, because our children's minds are going to be cursed as well. It's going to pass that ignorance on to our children of being destroyed. So even if our children didn't come here in slave ships, the effects of the brainwashing would be passed down from generation to generation, alluding back to your original question about why we can't get together. Because that generational curses and generational curses affect us even till now. The past affects the present. You cannot fix your present without understanding the past.
Exactly. Can I just say something? Of course. There was a part in the curses that you was bringing out, because a question came up about why is it that we can't get together. Oftentimes, we don't get the full lesson about the terrible atrocities that happen to us. Give me 2 scriptures. Give me Daniel, the scripture in Daniel. I think it's 9. Yeah. 9:11. Hold that. Then go back to Deuteronomy. Get those verses where it says thine ox and thine ass. Those, I need those scriptures.
Daniel chapter 9.
Well, verse... we'll go to that in a minute. Go to the thine part.
28:31.
Right.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 31. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes.
You see that part where it says thine ox? That's colonialism. That's the part that's talking about that. So in terms of the 12 tribes of Israel, I know we're talking about quote unquote Black History Month. And I know people think that Black history is only talking about what we know as the Southern Kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, or the quote unquote blacks. And we tend to leave out the other tribes. The other tribes are part of this history that we're reading about. God just doesn't call it black history. He calls it the history of the Israelites. So going to your original question as to why we don't, quote unquote, celebrate Black History Month, is because the title itself has a connotation that speaks against the other tribes, if you will, or the understanding won't be perceived to cover the other tribes. But the history that the Bible is talking about all 12 tribes. Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, is talking about the 12 tribes of Israel. Read that again.
Verse 31. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes.
Thine ox, meaning that the Israelites, meaning the Northern Kingdom, Santo Domingo, Puerto Rico, Central America, Brazil, all those, they had oxes, their own oxes, before the conquistadors came to destroy them. That's why it's saying thine ox. It was their own oxes. Read that again.
Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes.
Read the part where it says that be violently taken away from me.
And thou shalt not eat thereof.
And thou shalt not. You're not going to benefit from your own cattle, from your own oxen, from your own resources. Let's go deeper into what that's saying. Oxen and those things represent your resources, meaning they're gold, so you can understand. They're silver. All those things, they will not benefit from it. Why? Because the enemy will take it from them and colonize them and use it for their own benefit and enslave the inhabitants. So the reason why I wanted to touch that in particular is to explain that along with that thievery, along with that stealing, came a doctrine that caused our people in these areas that I just spoke of to not unify with their brothers. So that's the reason why we cannot get it together, because we've been fed a doctrine, not only Southern Kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, but all the tribes have been fed a doctrine to not work for the betterment of their own people. Okay, now Daniel
chapter 9, verse 11.
This is in reference to what you mentioned about Japan. How is it that Japan was able to, because you had Nagasaki, Hiroshima, that was bombed in 45. You with me?
I'm with you.
And they've recovered. And during that time, World War II area, you had, they were rounded up and put in concentration camps over here in these parts of the world, meaning in the States. Read.
Daniel chapter 9, verse 12. And he hath confirmed his words, which he spake
what
against
does verse 11
us.
say? Verse 11.
Verse 11. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law.
This is talking about the whole nation of Israel. Basically, Deuteronomy 28 again. Read.
Even by departing, and that they may not obey thy voice.
They departed, meaning we departed from God's commandments. That's what Deuteronomy 28:15 is saying. We did not hearken to the voice of the Lord. Read.
Therefore, the curse is poured upon us.
Therefore, Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, is poured on the whole nation of Israel. Go ahead.
And the oath that is written in the law.
So we're not going to get away from God's consequences for breaking his laws. That's why I'm saying the word oath there. Just as sure as he said that if you obey my law and my commandments, you will receive the blessings. But if you do not obey those laws and commandments, you will receive the curses. That's the oath. Go ahead.
And the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, because we have sinned against him.
Read. This is why. Go ahead.
And he hath confirmed his word.
And the Most High has confirmed his word. This is how we know that the Bible is a true book. It's confirmed. We living in it. Go ahead.
Which he spake against us, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil.
It didn't say a regular evil. It didn't say evil that's equal to the Japanese or equal to the other nations. The Most High having it written in the Bible that it is a great evil, meaning that it stands out above all other evil. Just in case that's not the understanding, keep reading.
For under the whole earth, for under the whole heaven hath not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem.
So don't let anybody fool anybody on this planet. Israel, the Israelites caught the worst hell. God says that. So we don't need somebody else to tell us about some so-called 6 million. They're not the Jews that the Bible's talking about. The curses that we just read in Deuteronomy points to us. We're the ones feeling those curses. And the Most High tells you right there that we're the ones that suffer the worst. So in terms of us being messed up in our minds, like what Deacon Itham was bringing out, the psychological effects of slavery, the post-traumatic slave syndrome, yeah. All those things, even the, what's that syndrome? Stockholm syndrome, all of that is a result of these terrible curses that happen to us.
Okay.
For under the whole heaven, what?
For under the whole heaven hath not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem.
That has been done upon the Israelites. So if you want to know who the Israelites are, find out who the people that suffer the worst, according to God. Those are the Israelites.
Right.
Okay.
And Deuteronomy 28. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Now, here's a question. A lot of white people also, they kind of ask, right? What exactly can be done to resolve or apologize for the slave trade?
I got the answer.
Okay.
Revelation. Here's the answer right here.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 9.
Now, they're Christians and want to be just people and all that. How could we apologize? Oh, we're so sorry for what we did. Read.
If any man have an ear, let him hear.
If they have an ear and hear what happened to us and they say they want to apologize, let's see if they're going to listen to this.
Verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
If they want to be a just people, they're supposed to be saying, here, put me in captivity, like we put you in captivity. I don't see any of these so-called Christians doing that. I don't see any of them coming up telling Gad and the Native Americans that said, listen, we stole your land, here's your land back. Ain't none of them saying that. So listen, we ain't listening to none of that stuff. God has, this is what we want. We don't want no apologies. We don't want no writing of passing some bill. We want what God wants. Read it again and I'm done.
He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Go ahead.
He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword.
It didn't say maybe. It didn't say it was a possibility. It said that they must be killed with the sword. This is God speaking. Go ahead.
Here is the patience and the faith of the saints.
Meaning that's what we want. We don't want nothing else. Here's we're patient because of that decision that God, the supreme judge, said. That's what we're waiting on. Okay. That's what we want. Now, let me get one more scripture, then I'm done. Luke chapter, because it say he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity, right? Luke 21 and 24.
Luke chapter 21, verse 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword.
This is when Jerusalem was being overthrown in 70 AD. Okay? In 70 AD, the Romans came in and destroyed Jerusalem. Christ was telling us about this prophecy. This is what he's talking about here. Read.
And they shall fall by the edge of the sword.
The Israelites, the three tribes primarily that was in Jerusalem at that time, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. When Rome came in with those swords and those soldiers, they were killing our people like flies. There's parts in the book of Psalms that talks about that. They left our bodies on the ground, not even to be buried. Go ahead.
And shall be led away captive into all nations.
And shall be led away captive into what?
Shall be led away captive into all nations.
All nations had the nation of Israel in slavery. Okay, so all nations are going into slavery. One more. Psalms 83. Then I'm going to give it back to you. Psalms 83.
Deacon, yo, what's up?
Just want to appease everybody.
All right.
Psalms 83, 1-3.
The book of Psalms.
4, real quick.
Chapter 83, verse 1. I keep not thou silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God.
This is a prayer this is a prayer for Israel, to not hold his peace against what the enemies of Israel did to us. Read.
For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee
they that hate the Most High, and they that hate the Israelites, have
lifted up the head.
Have lifted up their head like they're the supreme people. We're the children of the Most High. We're the supreme people of God. I know a lot of people don't like that title, but that's what it is. That's the reason why we're not satisfied with a so-called month. We're the supreme people. Read.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
They, meaning the enemies of God, have taken crafty counsel. You know what crafty counsel is? All of the things that we was reading about in Deuteronomy 28. The Stockholm syndrome was an example of crafty counsel. The post-traumatic slave syndrome is a result of crafty counsel. The miseducation of our people is a crafty counsel. The way the media is turned against us is a result of crafty counsel. Even religion, with its lies about Jesus and Christ and the angels, is a result of crafty counsel. Politics, all of those things are a result of crafty counsel. Economic system, all of that is against us. Read.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
Go ahead. The hidden ones is Israel. This is the reason why Black History Month in particular, like what we're talking about, has to, it's not this point about Black History Month, but just the history of Israel, period, has to be taught to our people because we are hidden. That's why I'm saying that. Read that again. I'm almost done, Isaac.
Right. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted.
Crafty counsel meaning staying up all night kind of counsel. Getting no sleep kind of counsel. Wake your butt up kind of counsel. We got to talk kind of counsel. In other words, we have to plot and plan to make sure that the Israelites never rise again. That's the kind of counsel that they had. Deep counsel. Counsel where they can make a decision one day and it has a 500-year span of repercussions on down the line. Go ahead.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
Read. This is what their counsel consisted of.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
And that's one of the curses that the Most High said that was gonna happen to us. We were gonna be so messed up in slavery, we were gonna forget who we are because our enemies were gonna make sure that through all of their plots, through all of their crafty counsel, that we will never come to the understanding that we are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. Go ahead.
Okay. With that being said, I think this leads me to my next question. How exactly does the IUIC propose that an entire race move forward? We, the Israelites, how does the
entire race moves forward?
Yeah, how does the IUIC propose
in terms of what?
What race? I want to make sure you understand.
As Israelites, we as Israelites.
Oh, okay.
How do we move forward?
How do we move?
Now that
forward?
we've learned that we're the ones that the Bible spoke of, that the curses and stuff, and also from the book of Revelations and so on and so forth. How do we move forward from all of this?
Well, simple. It's Zephaniah 2:1.
Mm-hmm. The book of Zephaniah, chapter 2, verse 1. Mm-hmm. Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
Yeah.
Before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as the chaff, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you.
One of the things the Most High wants Israel to do is to come together. Come together as in what? We as mentioned earlier, brothers open their own banks and so on and so forth. They tried that. However, you have to have everyone of one mind. When you read Acts 2, get Acts 2 real quick. When you get Acts 2, Israel always worked together. They always worked together. And while they're in captivity, they're productive. You had a thing called economics. You had things like distribution. You had trade among us. You had us working as one, living amongst ourselves. These things take place when Israel's mind was changed, when they were converted. To move forward, Israel has to repent first and foremost. Their minds must be of one. That's the only way we can move forward. If we all have our own ideologies, and we all must do one thing. Matter of fact, hold that. Get 2 Corinthians 6:17. This is what we do. It's the main thing we do first to move forward. Mm-hmm. How can I forget? 2 Corinthians 6:17.
The book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 6, verse 17. Wherefore, come out from among them, and be ye separate.
You read earlier where it said, gather yourselves together. Oh, gather yourselves together. Nation, not nations, but a nation not desired. So we are a nation of people, as Deacon Asaph elaborated on earlier, in Psalms 83, excuse me. They took crafty counsel against us to keep us divided. So once Israel acknowledges who they are, repents and converts and keeps these commandments, we're to gather together. And once we gather together, what must we do?
Come out from among them.
Among them goes into the other nations. Separate from these other nations and separate from their philosophies, their doctrines, their holidays. That's how you move forward. Like, for example, in Camilla, Georgia, they're separated, not because they want to be, but because the so-called white man doesn't want them around them. And so the black folks over there are, in fact, the majority, but yet they want to be integrated or assimilated with the whites that are minority over there. So one of the things you must do to move forward is they are complaining about not being able to be buried with the whites. They have two separate graveyards. Right. So what? So open your own graveyard. We can't go to white man's store. So open your own store. But these are things that our people have not yet to understand. That's why they cannot move forward, because our people want to move forward with the very same person that is trying to divide us. For example, it's like a rape victim. It goes along with Stockholm Syndrome, but it's like a rape victim. She wants to be free from being a victim of the rapist, and then when you free her from the rapist, she goes, but what about the rapist? Wait a minute. Right. He is raping you, and you are trying to bring him with you. That's the Stockholm Syndrome. So the Lord is telling us we must come out from among them. Them goes into the other nations and their philosophies and the doctrines that follow. Read on.
And be ye separate.
And be ye separate. The Lord wants Israel to be separate. He has always wanted us to be separate. Our laws, our statutes, and our commandments make us separate from his Christmas, from his holidays, from his philosophies, even from his diet. The pork, the shrimp, even from his fashions, women's pants, men's dresses. The Lord says separate from all of that stuff. That's how you move forward. And when we move forward like that, we will move. You're going to move mountains, I'm telling you, because that's going to cause a major unrest in this society. If blacks as a whole remove themselves from Christmas, remove themselves from New Year's, Thanksgiving, you know how much money we spend on holidays? Trillions of dollars. And that's just blacks alone. I'm not even talking about the Hispanics. Black folks spend $1.3 trillion a year. And Hispanics spend 1.7 only because they're the majority. There's more of them. There are people, but there's more of them. So if you combine the two, that's damn near $3 trillion, $2 trillion. $1 trillion is a lot of money. Imagine we took that money and brought it to ourselves. Right. You imagine what we could do? We can clean our community up. We can build houses, build homes, all of that. We can do those things. That's how you move forward. Separate from the unclean thing. Separate yourselves from the nations that seek to keep us divided. Read on.
Go ahead. And touch not the unclean thing.
The unclean thing is the heathen's men, the heathen's women, their philosophies, their doctrines. Be ye separate in all different facets and different spectrums. Separate yourself. Go ahead.
And I will receive you.
Then he says, once you've done that, then I will receive you. Then I will maintain your cause. Then you'll be successful as a nation of people. Otherwise, I'm going to keep you in the conditions that you're in. I'm going to let you have your little month, your 28 days of celebration, your little culture, or whatever you think you know about black history. I guess you have that, and you can live with your days in bliss and in ignorance. That's what you're going to do.
You see that part where it says, then, well, you pointed the point where it says, and I will receive you. That's when Zephaniah 2:1 going to come into place.
Right.
They say, because you can't come together and you still trying to integrate with your oppressors. That's not going to work. You're still trying to think like he think. Still trying to marry their women, marry their men, be all tied up in their philosophy and all
politics.
And their politics. The Lord ain't dealing like that.
Yeah.
He's not. Also, in Deuteronomy 28 verse 31 about the ox, that's going into colonialism. Colonial. So you mentioned earlier, it's not just a black movement, it's Hispanics as well, because majority of the slaves, a lot of them were brought to Brazil. That's a Latin American country. And a lot of slaves are brought over there. So it's not just a black thing. It's a black, Hispanic, and Native American thing as well.
Right. We have to move on to the next segment. All right. We're gonna take a break, but before we take a break, I want to leave with this question. One thing I notice is most times when black folks say that they are, sort of leaving the integration kind of like mix. Okay. What the thing I would like to see more is us leaving to create our own businesses and do more. But one of the thing I only find us doing is we leave that the whole situation, and most of what they do is just wear more non-commercial clothes, or wear more African-made jewelry, and it's more of they left the house to live on the in a shack. That's how it usually looks like to me, and they kind of like they portray that as they're trying to be, standing up for black movement and stuff like that. But I really don't, because that does not also, I would rather much they move from that and do more, way more, like create a business, do something that brings in revenue that can support the other members of the community and stuff. But the fact that you just leave that and just jump into living like they're homeless or something, I really don't get that, because that's not really appealing to the kids, you know what I'm saying? So this is something that I really don't know, but it's something I see a lot. I mean, they start I just don't know. It's a lot. It's
let me explain the difference between Isaac, let me explain the difference between when you said about when we just if we want to honor what's written in here, but we don't do it according to God, right?
Right.
Like we was talking about earlier, come out from among them and be ye separate. That's your point, right? And why we don't do it the correct way,
right?
Isaac?
Yes.
That's your point, correct?
Yeah.
And I want to compare that to what was said about Japan. Japan was able to do that for one major factor. They never lost their culture. They never lost their norms. They never lost their constitution. They never lost their heritage. So it was easy for them to pick up the pieces, as you will, and put it right back into what's already established or what they already know about themselves. With us, the reason why our businesses fail, because we don't realize that we are the Israelites and we don't govern with each other by the laws of God. We'll set up businesses. I'll give an example. We'll set up businesses. We'll set up hospitals, set up all of those things. But if we don't have the moral law on how to deal with each other, if we don't have the civil law on how to deal with each other, we'll be robbing each other in the business. That's the reason why the business failed. We'll be raping each other, committing fornication, adultery, all kinds of things. Why? Because we have not done what our heritage tells us to do, because our heritage has been cut off. That's what I read in Psalms. The other nations, you spoke about Japan, and they got paid for that, by the way. They received reparations. That's another thing. They got paid for being locked up for 2-3 years. Okay. So that, along with them not losing anything, it's easy for them to restructure themselves and build from where they left off at. But for us, we have to come back to the basics to build upon this foundation, which is what Christ is teaching us.
Right. Because to me, the annoying part is we black folks, when we leave, the mix, we just be doing weed smoking, all sort of things.
That's the point.
Even the clothes, we it's like we intentionally be wearing low quality fabric. For some reason I don't really know. And young kids, there's the commercial stuff, you know what I'm saying? So this does not, the young kids don't even want to join this new mix. They just want to stay where they at. Because it's really not it. But I can understand when you say Japan and stuff, because I can also look back into Japan and see that they have their own culture thing, but done in a more professional way, in a more appealing way, that everyone wants to be a part of that movement, the culture. So I think it's just necessary for us to do better. I don't know if our mics are okay, because I'm reading some comments and it says the mics are
your mic is low, correct?
My mic,
your mic is
low. I got a new name though, Captain.
Well, maybe it's on our board. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We're checking the levels right now. Guys, am I good? Is my mic okay?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, that's
way better.
All right, that's way better. All right. So we're gonna take a short break right now, and when we're back, we are going to. I would like everyone watching to post something about wherever you may be from. I mean, wherever you may be from, as long as it's an African country, since it's Black History Month, and that's what today's show is about. I'd like you to post something about a black prominent person from your country. If it's the president, if it's the first owned black school in your city or country, whatever, just post the name of that person, because we're going to talk a little bit about some of the black folks in the United States and elsewhere. So I just like to post it in the comments so we can read it out loud, and I think we will also continue a little bit of this in the next show as well. So let's just go for the break right now. When we're back, we'll take over the next segment.
Shalom, this is Bishop Nathaniel of Israel United in Christ, here to teach the truth. Who's the black man that went into slavery? Who's the black man scattered throughout the sub-Saharan slave trade, transatlantic slave trade, the diaspora, as the world calls it? We are the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Who is Christ? The black Messiah, according to Revelation chapter 1, verse 14 and 15. All these things we're going to prove to you. Your churches don't want to talk about it, but guess what? We're going to talk about it. So join us every Monday at 8 p.m. Germany time. Shalom. Shalom, this is Bishop Nathaniel of Israel United in Christ, here to teach the truth. Who's the black man that went into slavery? Who's the black man scattered throughout the sub-Saharan slave trade, transatlantic slave trade, the diaspora, as the world calls it? We are the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Who is Christ? The black Messiah, according to Revelation chapter 1, verse 14 and 15. All these things we're going to prove to you. Your churches don't want to talk about it, but guess what? We're going to talk about it. So join us every Monday at 8 p.m. Germany time. Shalom. Shalom, this is Bishop Nathaniel of Israel United in Christ, here to teach the truth. Who's the black man that went into slavery? Who's the black man scattered throughout the sub-Saharan slave trade, transatlantic slave trade, the diaspora, as the world calls it? We are the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Who is Christ? The black Messiah, according to Revelation chapter 1, verse 14 and 15. All these things we're going to prove to you. Your churches don't want to talk about it, but guess what? We're going to talk about it. So join us every Monday at 8 p.m. Germany time. Shalom.
With the connection back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We have a little technical issue though. IUIC got disconnected for one or two reasons, but while they're trying to reconnect, I'm gonna keep the show running, and then they will be on real soon. Now, I just saw a comment on someone saying that I should start playing IUIC music. Now, guys, as long as I get the tracks, I'm ready to play, because I want to hear some IUIC stuff as well. You know what I'm saying? I want to hear the tunes, the melodies and all that. I just want to vibe with it. Moving on, I'm gonna talk about the first heavyweight champ, who goes by the name of Jack Johnson. Okay, he became the first. Jack Johnson was the first African American man to hold the world heavyweight champion boxing title in 1908. He held onto the belt until 1915. Oh, IUIC is back in the building. What's up? I think we have to check the mic levels as well. Can you guys hear me? Fine. Okay.
Hello. Fine.
Yes. Great.
Got us.
Wonderful. I got y'all. Yeah. So I'm just gonna read a little bit, and of course, Deacon and Deacon Yawasab, Deacon Ithon, if you have a name of a black history of a black prominent person that you would like to talk about as well, you are more than free to mention that. I'm gonna go ahead and mention this first person as well, who is the first lawyer. Goes by the name of John Mercer Langston. He was the first black man to become a lawyer when he passed the bar in Ohio in 1854. So that was the first black lawyer, I guess, in Ohio, in America. Yeah, that was the first black lawyer in America. So what I'm trying to say here is, if you guys have anyone that's prominent from your country whatsoever, just write it in the comments. I'm gonna read it out so we can all, educate ourselves a little bit on black prominent people around the world. Deacon, yeah, what's up? You got something?
No, I'm gonna come in when I'm gonna come in. I ain't gonna come in now.
All right. Then I'm gonna read one. I'm gonna go ahead and read one of the comments. Unless Deacon, I thought you got something.
Yes, I do.
All right, give it to me.
The window's open. Last week, I'm not gonna digress, but last week I made an error about the knowledge I brought up. It's real fast. Those of you who I may have confused anyone. I apologize. It's in Corinthians. When I said it shall pass away. The knowledge shall pass away. In 13 verse 8. And it says, whether it be knowledge, it shall vanish away. When I went into that, I said that was philosophies. It's not. That knowledge is vanishing away is going into the knowledge that we're going to have now in part. But we know now, we don't know the entire Bible. We know in part. What we know in part will vanish away and we'll eventually know in full when Christ returns. That's what it means. It says knowledge vanished away. It means partial knowledge will vanish away and the full knowledge will be given when the Messiah returns. That's the one. I'll just clear that up real fast. It's not philosophies, it's the knowledge in part. So, okay. So back to the point, the topic. Who I admire, 2 Thessalonians 1 verse 10. Then we're gonna get some black figures as well that we know of. Deacon Asaph is going through the vault that no one is allowed to go into.
Okay.
Unless you have a retinal scan and finger scans
and eye scan,
yeah, eye scan, retinal scans. Yeah, Deacon Asaph got all kind of stuff he refuses to show us unless he's pushed to it.
Okay.
Oh man. So get the I want Second Timothy chapter 1 verse 10. It's a shame I got to see it now.
2 Timothy chapter 1.
Thessalonians.
Oh, 2 Thessalonians.
Yeah, 1 verse 10. This is someone who I admire, a black man that lived and walked the earth. He had a very good trade. He was in carpentry. Him and his father, he was carpenters, and he was a revolutionary man that tried to teach his people to come together and repent and get their minds right. So a mighty man, strong man. He was eventually prosecuted falsely and was hung. And he's someone I admire greatly. And he's a black man. Read that.
2 Thessalonians chapter 1 verse 10. When he shall come to be glorified in his saints and to be admired in all them that believe, because our testimony among you was believed in that day.
So that man's name was Jesus the Christ, who they call in English. That's who I admire.
Exactly.
That's the man I admire greatly and deeply, who did much for his people, who the year 2018 is based upon his birth and death. That's who I admire. That's a black man I admire. That's a man who loved his people. He lived loving his people. He fulfilled much in a short time, and he died loving his people. And because of his death, he granted his people a second chance to repent, come out of their sins, and get their minds right and be reformed and come together and a chance to separate themselves before he returns to deliver us once again, as Moses did, who was another role model, a man that I admire, that loved his people and was sent to deliver them. Likewise, Christ is the same way. So that's who I admire in this Black History Month. That's the man that I admire. That's who I have admiration for. Okay. That's the man who I aspire to be like. That's why I'm in the truth.
Before Deacon Yawasab gets on, I just want to read, because I know Deacon Yawasab wants to get on now. Am I correct or wrong?
Well, I just wanted to back up, but go ahead.
But before you get on, I just want to read one of these comments. It says we have a Captain Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso. So that's it right there. We got someone from Burkina Faso. Another comment here says Bob Marley is not black. He is what his father is, white Jewish man, an Amalek.
He was.
Okay. Well, I'm still waiting for more comments from you guys. Just post them out there. We're ready to read. Deacon Yawasab, on to you now, and then we're moving on.
All right, thank you. Mm-hmm. Yes. I'm glad that question was posed to us in terms of who we honor in terms of historical black greatness, if you want to use that term.
Right.
Who we adorn as leader we look up to, as our savior, as our leader, as our guide, we often start to try to point around in society and look for the different people who we are told that we should acknowledge. So when Deacon Ithon said Jesus Christ, I know some people in their mind was like, well, that ain't black history. They don't normally attribute the history and the life of Jesus as being a black historical hero. But I'm here to tell you something different. That's what we're here to tell you now. Now we're going to read something. Historically, let me show you, like, this goes in conjunction to what we was reading all earlier about how our enemies seek to hide our identity. They've gotten to the point where we have been conditioned to believe that Jesus was not a black historical figure, if you will. But let's see if the empires around the world think that. I'm going to read out of this book entitled The Icon. This is on page 11. And this is about the icons of Constantinople. This section of the book was put together by Kurt Weitzman. Okay. I said a section of the book because this book is divided up into several different parts that were put together by different persons. Like, for instance, this part is put together by Kurt Weitzman. This is what it says. It says iconoclasm. What does that mean, Isaac? Let's just start there. That word iconoclasm, what does that mean?
What does it mean?
No, I'm asking. Do you know?
No, I don't know.
If you don't know, it's okay. I'm not here.
It's fine. I mean, yeah, that's
okay.
Why you're the one with,
Right. The clashing of images. Icons meaning images of famous people. Okay? Since we're talking about black history, we're going to talk about famous black figures. So iconoclasm was a period that took place after the Renaissance, or around the time of the Renaissance. Okay? Which is what that whole campaign by Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci, that's what that was all about. Destroying the art that was over there about black images. So iconoclasm meaning clasm means to destroy or against icons. Okay, so that's what it means. Okay, in a nutshell. Venetian looting in 1204 and the sack by the Turks, meaning the Ottoman Turks, in 1453 are the main reasons why only few icons have survived in Constantinople proper. It may be daring, therefore, to write an entire chapter on the icons of the capital. Yet, the situation is not quite so hopeless as might appear at first glance. So, maybe they need to see this on the screen. You want to hold it up? Let them see it. They can see what everything above the highlighted part is what I've read so far. Are you able to get that? I want you to be able to see that, Isaac.
I'm trying to look at it. Can you see
the top of it?
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
See that first word says iconoclasm?
Yeah. Wait.
That's what I was reading.
Hold on. Icons of Constantinople? Constantinople, right. Okay.
Okay. I just want you to see that part for a second. Over. Okay. I know the book is kind of heavy, right? Got some weight to it. All right. So let me finish reading. So the point that I wanted to make here is that the author of this section is making a point that there has been looting, and the icons have been looted and destroyed. That's what he's saying. You with me so far, Isaac?
I am.
Then it says, icons existed not only as panel paintings, but also frescoes and wall mosaics. Listen to this part here. Some of which have emerged from layers of whitewash. So, Isaac, what this man is saying in this book, see, this book right here is not a book that black folk would normally have in their collection.
Nope.
Okay? But he's making a point here that says that some of these icons were found to surface from layers of whitewash, meaning that some of the icons were not totally destroyed. Let me read that again. Icons existed not only as panel paintings, but also frescoes and wall mosaics, some of which have emerged from layers of whitewash to give an undiluted impression of the highest achievement of Constantinopolitan art. So, let's see what some of these icons that emerged from layers of whitewash. Let's see what it says. Now you got to show it to them now. Let's get the pictures. You want to talk about black history? Here it is.
Black history. Let's put it on the screen so we can make it large.
Right.
Hold on.
Not that one.
Hold on.
No.
3 figures.
Okay. What you're looking at, the one where the brother's thumb is, that's the prophet Moses. This is painted in Serbia, so you can understand. That's where these pictures are from.
Okay. The burning bush in his hand.
The burning bush in his hand. Look at that. Look at his face compared to the garment that he's wearing. That is a black man, Moses. You see that?
Right.
So when we were reading in the beginning where it says some of which have emerged from layers of whitewash, meaning that the white artists did not destroy these pictures. That's what it's saying.
They didn't get a chance to.
They didn't get a chance to. That's what that's telling you. But just like we was reading in Psalms, they sought to destroy all our history.
Now go to the next one.
Go to the next one. No.
Stay
The next side. Get the other side now. Let's identify who these people are.
Get the next one. Get the next guy.
That's what I'm trying to get here. That's King David.
Yes.
Ooh.
So what in the world these liars talking about David was ruddy? They didn't understand what that meant, meaning a tender. That's what that word ruddy means. He was not red. Our people that was over there ruling during that time, they painted him the way they knew the history was, black. Okay? Where was this at? Serbia. Lift it up. That's Andrew. That was Christ. That was one of the brothers of Christ. Wasn't it?
Disciples.
One of the disciples. Right. Andrew, the prophet Andrew. You see that? Black.
Wow.
Look at his hands. Look at his hands, though. They tried to get him. They couldn't get him.
They started working on it. Okay. So, all right. That's enough of that. Now, I didn't show Jesus, did I?
No, you did not.
Right. Say
The
something.
man who give me Psalms 74. This is in the Bible. This is in the Bible that they were going to do this. Is nothing new. Psalm 74, and we're going to read verse 4. But the Most High allowed the nations to come against us for being disobedient. Watch what they did.
The book of Psalms, chapter 74, verse 4. Thine enemies roar in the midst of thy congregations. They set up their ensigns for signs.
They set up their ensigns for signs. Their ensigns is the whitewash images. That's their ensigns. The white Jesus, the white pictures of King James, the white images of Mary, of Joseph. That's their ensigns. They set up for signs. These are your ensigns now, Negro. You go to the church and you see the pastor at the pulpit and you have that big sign or that image of the Messiah on the cross, like this, singing on the side or whatever, with the long, stringy brown hair. That's their sign. That's not our ensigns. We had images of our forefathers. Here's 1 Maccabees 3:48.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 3, verse 48.
This is during the time of the Greeks, the Greek Empire. Now, we know Greeks are so-called white folks. Watch what they did with our Bibles.
And laid open the book of the law.
When our forefathers retrieved the books back from the Greeks and we fought against them, what do we find? Read.
Wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
So the heathen sought to paint their images in our Bibles over our images. Let you know that the Jews are black, because if the Jews are white and the Greeks are white, there'd be no reason to put your images in the white nation's book, because they look exactly the same, proving that there's black folks. Give me Job 9:24. Let's see who did it, who the Most High used to do it. Because notice it says, it didn't say yellow wash Like, so as they say, so-called Asians are yellow people. It's not yellow wash. It's not brown wash. It's not black wash. They said layers of white washing. If you're going to whitewash something, you're going to remove it from being a dark image to a white image.
The book of Job, chapter 9, verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked.
So we all know full well what particular nation runs the earth. All nations don't run the earth. All nations follow one particular nation's lead, and that's the so-called white man. He is the wicked of the earth. Read again.
The earth is given into the hand of the wicked.
The Most High has given the earth into the hand of the wicked. Go ahead.
He covereth the faces of the judges thereof.
And the Most High allowed this wicked man who has the earth in his hand to do what?
Covereth the faces of the judges thereof.
Covered it with what? With whitewashing. Whitewashing David's image, whitewashing Christ's image, whitewashing Peter's image. They covered the faces of the judges, the prophets of the judges. They whitewashed the Messiah, he's a judge. They whitewashed the angels, they're judges. He whitewashed God's image, that's a judge. You have a picture called the Sistine Chapel, where they got Adam and the Most High butt naked on a cloud, touching fingers. You know how gay and disgusting that art is? It's madness. Adam is a butt naked on the cloud, they touching fingers. What the hell for? Since when you see two men butt naked touching fingers? What is that? How is that a holy image? Read on, read again.
The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof.
And the Most High used this wicked who the earth is given into the hand to cover the face of the judges. Go ahead.
If not, where and who is he?
So if it's not the white man that's whitewashing or covering the images, God is asking the question, then who is doing it? Because Asians didn't whitewash Christ and make him look Asian. Arabs didn't brownwash Christ and make him look Arabic. Africans didn't blackwash Christ and make him look African. You understand? So they whitewash him. The whole world they don't worship an Asian-looking Christ or an Arab-looking Christ. They worship a white-looking one. They whitewash or they covered the faces of the judges thereof. And we're showing you the judges that they were unsuccessful in covering. That they couldn't do it fully because there's thousands upon thousands of years of us ruling in these areas like Serbia and Turkey and other areas. They were unable to get a hold of all of the images. So this guy is saying what he found was what they didn't get to, or what image or sign they did not destroy. Because iconoclasm means image destroyer, the destruction of images. That's what it means.
Whoa. Now, okay. I just want to say that we have less than 6 minutes left. But if this ain't Black History Month teachings right here, I don't know what is. Deacon Asaph, on to you, very briefly.
All right, I'm gonna be quick. I'm gonna prove of what I said about the whitewashing. I'm gonna show you one image where a photograph of it was taken before they threw chemical solution on it to destroy it. Then I have a photograph of the same image where it was before and after. Show this here.
Okay.
This right here is in Upper Syria, Dura Europus. Okay. Yes, show them that. That scene there.
Where is
this
it? It's on the screen. We need to zoom in. We need to zoom in.
Okay.
Hold on.
What you're looking at there is what you're looking at there is the prophecy painted by our forefathers that was in those areas during that time up in Dura Europus. That's the scene of Ezekiel, the 37th chapter. You see that valley over there, the valley of the dry bones. If you look close to the detail in the picture, you see hands, heads, and all that thrown all over the place. That's Ezekiel 37. That picture there is reflective of us in America in these times today. We're in that. The representation of what that picture is talking about is in prophecy right now. That's what this, because the Israelites are coming back as a nation. That's what you're seeing here on this program. So what you're looking at is one stage of whitewashing. Okay, now take that down. Remember the detail that you saw in the picture, right?
Right.
This is before they put the chemical solution on it. I should have showed it backwards. I did it backwards. This is, now you see there's more color to it. Mm-hmm. You see that? The same picture. You see that?
Yeah.
Now the area where this picture, now I'm going to show you what color they're supposed to look, because even that's whitewashed. Mm-hmm. That is from Dura Europus. Now I'm going to show you what they, because it's the next picture that I'm going to show you. These pictures is in the same room with the, let me see. Give me that book back, because it's in that same book, the second picture that I want to show. Here, first, so they can see the words. Let them see the words here, so they can know that it's in Dura Europus. Let them see that first. Yes, let them see that. Let them see the whole picture. That's the other side of the picture. You see the Israelite, you see Ezekiel? Okay, and that's the tribes coming back together. That's what that is. So all of those pictures, that scene, show them the other side of the book.
Are those black people or light-skinned people?
Yeah, but they were, I'm going to show you what color they're supposed to be. This is whitewashed.
Also.
That's whitewashed. That's just one layer of whitewash. You see it still has some color there.
Wow.
The first picture that I showed you was when they completely whitewashed it. You follow me, Isaac?
I am.
Okay.
My oh my.
Now get the words where it says Dura Europus up in the corner. It's even given the scripture. You see that? That's out of a book called Our Living Bible.
Okay.
Dura Europus. You see the word there, right?
I'm seeing something.
3rd century A.D. That's how old those pictures are.
Black History Month. Deacon
Okay, I ain't done yet.
Deacon Yawasap, but you have to be done because we actually are out of time.
This is the last one. This is the last one.
Yeah.
Gotta show them this.
Yeah, I understand. It's
this.
Black History Month. If
that.
they don't see it,
Show
what
them
else
the
is it?
words. Show them this right here is in the same room. Just show them the picture. In the same room, it says, "Thus were the Israelite priests dressed in white linen." You see the color that's on their faces?
I see the color.
Those are Israelite priests, so you can understand. Levites. You follow me?
With that being said,
Ezekiel was a Levite, so he's supposed to look exactly like this.
Right.
And that's in Dura Europus as well. That's in the same room. Okay?
With that being said, Deacon Yawasap, we are going to go into more on this book, okay, on the next show next week. That is something we have to do. It is Black History Month full out. Do you feel me? So with that being said, we are going to go more in details. I would like you to bring some more of these photos, and do send us a copy of these photos so we can air them, broadly. Just ask for the photo that you want and we'll post it right up. You know what I'm saying? And we will get into that. But of course, it is a pleasure to have Deacon Ithan and Deacon Yawasap in the building.
All praises. Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure to have you guys in the building. And a shout out to all the viewers that tuned in to stay tuned during the show. It was great having you guys on the show as well. We look forward to seeing you guys as well on next week's episode. Till then, stay tuned. Deacon Ithan, Deacon Yawasap, where do you think people can find IUIC?
You can visit www.israelunite.org. That's where you can find information regarding us and what we're about, what the mission is. You can also visit www.originalroyalty.com to purchase merchandise from there, because the proceeds from that help contribute towards us traveling and teaching our people scattered across the world. We travel throughout the world and teach our people. And so, once again, visit www.israelunite.org. You can also visit us on YouTube, IUIC in the Classroom channel. You'll find us there as well.
IUIC events as well.
IUIC events as well, yes.
Wonderful. Until then, stay tuned for the next episode next week, 8 p.m. Germany time. Is it 2 p.m. over you guys?
Yes, sir.
2 p.m.
4 p.m.
4 p.m.
It airs at 2 p.m.
It airs at 2 p.m. Wonderful. So stay tuned again. And with that being said, we are signing off right now. I'm your host, Isaac Jr. And today on today's show, we had Deacon Yawasap and Deacon Ithan. God bless and stay blessed. Have a great week ahead of you.
Shalom. This is Bishop Nathaniel of Israel United in Christ. Please subscribe to our YouTube channels. Stay up to date with our latest events, music, and classroom lessons. IUIC plans to continue visiting different countries where this gospel has not been preached before. IUIC needs your help in pushing this truth. So join us. Subscribe to our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and podcasts, and stay up to date with us. For more information, please visit www.israelunite.org.